Hey. What's up? It's episode 5 of Godzilla. Yeah, we're about halfway through this thing, aren't we?
Up to 15 movies. Woo!
Yeah. We're running a little late this week. We had circumstances beyond our control, not unlike the radioactive monster that birthed all these movies. Some good, some craptastic. So we're here, and we're playing catch up. And I got my monster energy drink. Mm.
I've got my monster face on.
Mm-hmm. Tasty. And this week, we are going to talk about 3 movies. It's going to be Godzilla versus Megalon, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and the terror of Mechagodzilla.
Roar.
So, one thing to note about these is that this is actually the last of the Showa series of Godzilla movies. After Terror of Mechagodzilla, they kind of put it on hiatus for a while, and actually won't see another Godzilla movie until about 1984, which we'll get into next week. But this week, we'll talk about these 3 movies, and we'll kind of like figure out, why they stopped, or at least kind of like analyze it, but also kind of go over some points from each movie and like talk about just about the awesomeness that these 3 set of movies was for me, like totally, especially watching as a kid, but also like connecting it with, again, Mystery Science Theater 3000.
And these are 3 of the more enjoyable Godzilla pictures. They're all enjoyable, but these are particularly, and they're not all enjoyable, there's a couple that are tough. These are particularly fun. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of personality to these, a lot of good 70s feel to these. Just some good stuff in this set.
Yeah, I mean the worst of the set, apparently. We'll go over the numbers later on, or at least what we rank. But money wise, the last one was the first not to sell like 1 million tickets, which is part of the reason why they stopped. But we'll get into that. But the first one for this week is Godzilla versus Megalon, and we had kind of went over the last couple of weeks about how there's this giant arc that happened, where Godzilla was fearsome, ferocious, to where he was like Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he was like kind of his own thing, to where now we're getting in the swing where he's like the hero, he's like the super guy. And Godzilla versus Megalon is like the primo example, and is also a part of why it was actually the other movie that was done for Mystery Science Theater 3000. And a very classic episode, too. Tim, I know you've seen this before, but you've probably seen it Misty, is that right?
I have recently watched the Godzilla versus Megalon via Misty. Probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I watched that. It was interesting to see what they clipped out to make it fit the format. And
and that's very interesting. I wish I would have done that. It would have been neat to compare what it would have been riffed versus like what it is, actually.
Well, I think to be fair, every Godzilla movie's got a few parts you could clip out. You can make them a little tighter if you wanted to. But
cut out all the people.
There's a lot of exposition for side plots that doesn't need to be there necessarily. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not. But this is the Godzilla picture that actually they use in their credits for Misty for a while, where Godzilla is flying. He's doing his double leg drop kick.
Yeah, I think the fights are getting a little more egregious, and they had to come up with
throws and flying and pitching people and tearing of things off and pulling mouths.
Or like biting their head and then doing an uppercut and watching their body float up in the air for a couple seconds and float back down, and then repeating.
Well, when monsters fight, it is in slow motion. So.
Yeah, that's true.
That's science. So.
Science. So
because they're so big, it looks like they're going slowly into the air. Really, it was fast.
Yeah, or like the Godzilla Raids Again movie where they actually had real-time fighting Godzilla and Anguirus, whereas like in this it's all super slow motion to make it look like they're a lot bigger. I think they do that to make it look like they're bigger, because well, I don't know. If you see a monster, if you see a monster fight right now in real time, like outside your window, would they be moving as lumberingly slow as you would see, like say in these movies, or would it actually be sped up more of something either that we couldn't comprehend, or I wonder how the physics around that translate to actually.
Well, we can only hope that there's a giant monster attack at some point that we could witness firsthand.
I'd like to think that someone did a physics thesis on it already.
There's got to be somebody who's figured out that if there's something that's that big was walking, would it look lumbering or would it look... Well, I mean, animals lumber, so...
Yeah, I know I do.
Well, I know at one point, and this is not meant to be denigrating you, some Godzilla goes to run at somebody, like he gets, pissed off and it's time to, like, throw down hard, so he get beat down, he pops up and he'll kind of do his fast little jog, and I can't help but think of you.
Yeah.
Usually it's a happy run, but
it's definitely yeah.
On and you seem like there might be something. Maybe it inspired you from your childhood.
Maybe that's why I decided to get the a body type not unlike the looks of Godzilla.
As a child, you inspired to be a giant lizard.
Yes, the tail transformed itself more into the flat tire I have. So, yes, there's that. I got that going for me. Yeah. So Godzilla versus Megalon. The Misty was great. I bet it was great. Man, I need to go back and rewatch the Misty.
It's very good.
All I remember is Rex Start Eskimo Spy, the segment, one of the bumper segments that they had in between, like every half hour or so. They made fun of the brash superhero type guy who was the caretaker of this kid and this other biologist scientist guy. So the Rex Start Eskimo Spy thing was pretty cool for me, at least. So that was one of the things I remembered from that Mystery Science Theater 2000 episode.
And Megalon, one of the big things in this one is a lot of car chase in the beginning.
Yeah, it seemed, and it wasn't even like fast. I think it suffered from Mitchell syndrome, where it was just kind of like the slowest car chase scene.
It was kind of like a car following, more so than anything else. And they did,
or like the David Carradine movie that we watched for the
Future Force.
Yes, not to peel a scab open.
No, but, they did do a trademark thing from that movie in that there's a lot of dirt road chasing. Boy, those tires screech on that dirt.
Yeah, kicking up dirt left and right.
And nothing makes tires screech more than sand. So.
So this movie is like, they have that all set up, and the biologist guy makes a robot that they call Jet Jaguar, which is a blatant play at merchandising, like none.
Jet Jaguar, love him.
Yeah, I mean Jet Jaguar is a robot, but he kind of looks like a human toy.
Kind of looks like a demon in the face a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Or Ghost like Jack Nicholson. So this underground civilization called Seatopia, led by a white guy that looked like he delivers mail, um, like decides to like resurrect not unlike the Similarians. I think that's what it is from Doctor Who, but where they live forever under Earth, and they decide it's time to show back up. So they
Yeah, they had an issue with they were doing underground nuclear tests, and it was disrupting Zootopia. And so they said they were going to unleash.
Megalon.
They unleashed Megalon. Was Megalon theirs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Megalon was theirs, and then well, there's a return monster in this film.
Yeah, Gigan shows back up.
The Space Rooster shows back up.
Space Rooster shows back up. So yeah, the kid is just coincidentally playing out in the stupid waterboat thing, where in this lake where that's where Seatopia makes its presence known, and they get away, but then there's like agents of Seatopia on the planet, and there's this underlying thing where it's like the bad guys we've already established that the bad guys wear glasses, sunglasses.
Eye patch, sunglasses,
Any kind of eyewear, and now it's like okay, now they just wear, now they're either underground civilization from outer space, or all these different crazy, or a different unknown crazy island, and it's like, and they're all like wear suits and look slick, but then they also like wear glasses, and those are like the generic. They've escalated to like generic thug level, or generic like bad guy kind of like level, and the Seatopia thugs kind of had their way with some of the guys here in this movie, and they followed him back to his lab because I guess the biologist was like famous or something, and they stole Jet Jaguar, and they used Seatopia electronics to magically communicate with Jet Jaguar or something.
And it should be noted the very white post office looking guy who runs Zootopia. He wears not a suit or glasses, but a silver sash and a tiara. So
Yeah.
it's the most intimidating figurehead for a city-state that lives under the ocean.
Yeah, it almost looks like he was just out front of Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas or something.
Kind of. And so he's in there with his horseshoe haircut and thin mustache and silver sash, commanding, making the big decisions with his minions, who wear the glasses and the suits.
Yeah. So the whole reason they're getting this robot is they want to use it to like command Megalon, because even though it's their god, their civilization's god, they awoke it and they're able to say go out and do stuff. They can't control it, so they just unleash it and they're like, oh, we need something to control it. So somehow they catch wind of this robot, and somehow they realize that this robot can somehow send radio waves or science at this thing and like control it. And that's their like it. Now that I talk it out, it is really a half-assed kind of like plan.
They need to find Jet Jaguar to lead the monster to Tokyo, basically, for whatever reason. And so a lot of times it's just little bitty Jet Jaguar flying around and doing circles in front of a monster, beeping, and then the monster follows him. So.
Yeah. So and then the biologist guy, which got annoying because it seemed like in every actually another Doctor Who reference, kind of felt like the Doctor to me in the fact that all his son had to do was pull out a gadget to kind of save the day. It's like, I got this little birth control dispenser looking thing that
slash Disney's medallion
I can speak into, and then it overrides any controls that I've previously built in this robot that's flying around right now. So
but you have to be in sight line of him.
Yeah. So they conveniently get it all done, and then conveniently like talk to like Jet Jaguar, go get Godzilla. So it's like okay, and he flies off to Monster Island, and they do this. Jet Jaguar shows up and does like stupid like sign like language, arm language, like, and then Godzilla nods his head knowingly, and he decides to follow him out. And it's like, okay,
Godzilla's a short monster.
that's why it's like they really made this more of a kids movie, like, and this is, and you know, as a kid I loved it, and this obviously isn't. There's a reason this got misty. There's a reason this got ripped. But I mean, really, when you step back and look at it, I mean, you're just all trying to move things to get monsters to fight each other anyway. So, you know, monsters, merchandising, kids. I mean, this wasn't. This is definitely more enjoyable for the Mystery Science Theater 3000 than it is like on its own. But I still found some things enjoyable about it, and you know, one of them was just the ridiculous way that it ended up being a tag team wrestling match toward the end of this movie.
I enjoyed the playfulness of Godzilla in these, where there's a lot of communication, and then when he thinks about something, this really happens more in the next movie, but there's a lot of him almost grabbing his chin and rubbing it and saying, yes, I figured it out.
It was amazing pantomime, I have to say.
It is pure pantomime. And then the arm signals, and plus he does the fighting stance when he gets ready now. He kind of squares up, he does a little happy feet, and he puts his dukes up.
Yeah. One side. Hurrah!
And there's a little bit of that sumo go around the circle bit with these guys. They like to kind of square off. And then I've also noticed that the bad guys, once they knock them down, do a little taunt, and they kind of throw their hands up in the air. As does Godzilla, to be fair. But
they also spent some time to show that Megalon really needed something to control him, too. Because he was just, after the robot left, he was just all bouncing around like he was hopped up on some LSD or something. He was acting really goofy.
Let me just... If this fails, I will stop doing this, but I'm going to try this. Alright, come here. You go there. That work? Maybe it did. Oh, it did. Okay. Hang on. Keep me appraised if anything odd happens.
Well, I think what we found out last time is that the flash object on my end crashed, so you should be good.
Okay. I'm just giving you a little bit of Jet Jaguar getting his butt kicked here, just for fun. And that's Megalon and Gigan fighting Jet Jaguar. And if you give just a second here, he's going to get his ass kicked. There is Jet Jaguar. Now, he has grown in size from his original format.
Because he programmed himself to grow.
Oh, and there he goes. What a loser. And they're going to kick him while he's down because they're jerks. And I believe it's, oh, there we go, a little bit of that. And a little bit of this for you. There we go. One more from this guy over here. So there's a little bit of tag team action.
Yeah, and the Brian brings up a good point, right? Like in this movie, they use programming to explain away stuff. We talked about like magic. We talked about like spacemen, and then science, and now it's programming that he allowed him to grow super large. It's like his survival circuits took over. It just kind of waved a hand in front of you and be like, oh, this is how it goes now.
He went Skynet. He became self-aware.
Exactly, and then he relinquished control afterwards, like any good robot would.
He gave up his independence to be bossed around some more by a little boy in tight shorts.
Yeah, and the kid wasn't nearly as annoying as the other kid in the older movie.
Oh my God, another one. No, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is Megalon the one that shoots the red explosive ball out of his mouth?
Yes, he does. They look like little loogies or like little Boston baked beans.
Something cuts them out, and they do some damage.
Yeah, well, and then did a ring of fire around Godzilla and Jet Jaguar as they were like. One thing, I don't know if you noticed, Tim, but the laser from the tip of Megalon's head, like his little thing,
yes,
it's basically the same color as King Ghidorah. Because I distinctly remember Megalon blowing up the same mobile oil station that King Ghidorah did, I think, in...
I believe there were some destruction similarities in some of these films.
Dare I say that they're reusing footage again?
Well, you know. And then, and also I believe the strike to Godzilla's shoulder where it spurts blood might have been borrowed from Godzilla versus Gigan.
Yes.
As were the aerial attacks. They didn't use as much as I thought they were going to. I thought it'd just be all borrowed, but after he kind of fought with Gigan for a while, they got it back to some newer stuff. Where everybody was in the scene. Because it's mainly just Jet Jaguar fighting Megalon quite a bit, and then Godzilla had Gigan again before they got too roughed up here. And it's one of those things where when they finally catch up with old Gigan, with Megalon, Godzilla's putting a pounding on him, and he hawks one of his red bombs at him, and Godzilla knocks it back into his mouth.
Yeah, that was awesome.
There's a lot of hand clapping and like shaming people with your hands kind of fighting that goes on in these. And what is Megalon like a moth? Have we described? I mean, he's not Mothra, obviously, but what is Gigan? I mean, what is Megalon? Megalon is he's got wings.
I think they're just like, let's just throw a bunch of crazy stuff on him.
And he's got little drill pile driver hands.
Yeah.
And they have a whole thing with Gigan holding Jet Jaguar's head and like putting his little claw to his throat. And then Godzilla saves him, and Ring of Fire and red Nerf balls come out of his mouth, and
Oh wow. The original plan for this movie was that. Oh, by the way, at the end of the movie, Godzilla and Jet Jaguar win. They shake hands. They go their own ways. And the other monsters escape. That's pretty much it. And then you see that ridiculous flying Godzilla. Like, Jet Jaguar is holding the monster, like, his arms around his back. Not unlike professional wrestling. And
no tag team,
Yeah, no tag team action. And then Godzilla does a running jump, and he just flies. And it's just his foot floating across the screen. It looks so ridiculous. Watch any opening in Mystery Science 3000, like Godzilla Tim said, and
you'll see the Godzilla double leg kick.
Yeah.
The flying double leg missile drop kick kind of thing, if you will. I'm going to give you one other little taste of it if it goes through here. This is actually Gigan getting his arm broken. And then here we go. Here's some of that slow motion flying business. Kind of a tag team move. He's putting him up for some kind of secondary move, and then he says up. A little fire taste. And then he gets a little kick to and then Gigan's done. He's like, that's it, I'm out, back to space. As do all the space monsters. They all seem to go with that whole,
Yeah.
Once they start really getting their butt handed to them, it's back to space time. So let me just cancel that screen.
One quick crazy note. This movie was originally supposed to be just a solo vehicle for Jet Jaguar. Some kid won a contest for Toho who drew that Jet Jaguar to look a lot like either Ultraman, which is some of you Japanese TV show watchers would remember. But they just did it as like a Jet Jaguar versus Megalon thing, but the screen test didn't hold up. So the Toho brought in another dude to throw in Godzilla and Gigan in there to kind of like round out the movie. And it was actually shot in 3 weeks.
Not entirely surprised. A lot of the destruction was from previous movies. So. And you had at least one fight, which was Gigan and Godzilla, that was pretty much lifted from the other movie.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem, and that's what we'll see here. They were cranking them out once a year, and I think next year saw segue away. Next year saw our second movie of the day, And that is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Oh, that works too, though. Yes, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And
Yeah. Now this one, this is the one I always like. Last week I was talking about how I was like so excited to see that Godzilla tower and to see it like, oh, it's gonna be Mechagodzilla. Well, now it's like this is Mechagodzilla. This is the movie that I remember a lot from kid. I watched this multiple times, and it is so much. It is a huge. It is so much fun.
And I will say, why is that? Hey, there we go. Sorry, there was some weird dubbed Japanese sneaking into my computer. This, at least this version, I believe we both watched. I'll say this: it was a good, clean. It looked like it was been a well-preserved, legally acquired copy of it. So it was very sharp color-wise, which was a little different from some. The dubbing was pretty decent in this one. The dubbing wasn't so good in the third one. We'll get to that, but no, this one was a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and this actually marked the 20th anniversary for the Godzilla franchise as well. So there is a lot of weight put behind this. So
I feel like they had a little bit more of a budget, like a fresh budget for this one, because the explosions were better. There were just better effects across the board. I mean, there's still Godzilla effects. I mean, we're not talking, super ahead of its time, but it was a lot. You could tell there's more money on this one, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, this movie. Wow. So like, it starts out kind of crazy, like some princess or something, a priestess or something has like some vision of a giant monster destroying stuff. So they make some prophecies. So they kind of bring religion back in to the fold. Ooh, excuse me. And they have this almost like this Riddler like riddle. Riddle me this, Batman. But like when a black mountain appears above the clouds, a huge monster will arise and tries to destroy the world. But then when the red moon sets and the sun rises in the west, two more shall appear to save humanity. So it was like this crazy, like, what are you smoking, lady? And they're soon like they're soon followed, or like a couple people show up. There's like an archaeologist and like a reporter, I think, who ends up being in the CIA. This movie's all over the place.
It's
So basically, the human story it's another like almost like James Bond kind of thing where you have archaeologists, or Indiana Jones actually. They come to study King Caesar, which is like this ancient like monster, or this ancient like a deity that was like a part of this like certain sect of religion, that they either worship or whatever, and yeah, so like that happens, right? And then like this spelunker guy finds like metal not of this earth and takes it to a professor, and then that's where they find the prophecy. Yeah, that's where they find the prophecy, and then they're like, let's go find this stuff.
Space titanium. It's always trouble.
Yeah. So then the next thing you know, and it's pretty good. Like I know the last movie, it took a while for them to actually have a monster.
This one, they got right to it.
This one is like boom, like 5 minutes in, like not as fast as like I forgot which one. There's the fastest one. It was Hedorah.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it wasn't as fast as that, but like Godzilla shows up from Mount Fuji and just starts blowing shit up, right?
And if you're an aficionado, you notice his scream is a little bit off.
Yeah, it is a little different. And then a gear shows up who's like his Barney Rubble to his Fred Flintstone, and Godzilla kicks the crap out of him, breaks his jaw, and he's bleeding all over the place.
And he runs away because he's hurt.
Yeah.
And not even too long after that, I think even with that, Godzilla apparently is tearing shit up. People are trying to figure out why. And then out of the smoke in the night comes the real Godzilla.
Yeah, so Anguirus, gets a shot in that kind of exposes something in the skin that looks a little metallic, right? So,
And there's a little shiny piece in his shoulder, and then he and Godzilla fight a bit, and he knocks another chunk out, and there's a big chunk of metal showing.
mhm.
And this is where you see Godzilla's his his intellectual acumen kick in, and I'm just gonna, I
It's
actually
like,
have,
oh, it's not really me, it is something else.
and he's gonna. There's a little one more screen share. This is queued right up to the spot. Let me just put a little sound on it for fun. There's this piece of metal.
The one that came out of Mount Fuji is a cyborg. Cyborg? It is made of
Yeah, dummy.
space metal. You could call it a Mechagodzilla.
That's it. Anguirus had come out to call for Godzilla.
And here Godzilla notices it in just a second. Right here. Takes a little look. Ah! Yeah! Ah! Gigs up. I'm gonna hit you with my breath.
Yeah, and that goes to what we were talking about the explosions. They look really good.
Boom, a little bit more there. And does it change right here?
Damn Godzilla.
Oh, just a little bit of this guy.
You're mistaken if you think your powers
Yeah,
are...
so that's the bad guy, by the way, and they're like half apes, half human kind of aliens.
Which are awesome. Well, you know, just for the sake of, just for this will be a good wrap to it. Special effects. There we go.
Yeah, and they're all shocked.
They're shocked, even though the one guy doesn't apparently know what a cyborg is.
Yeah. So like,
cyborg.
so the bad guy is like they're another alien race. They're not cockroaches. They're apes this time. And they basically want to blow up Earth to take it over or something. Who really cares at this point?
There's Planet of the Apes. If it wasn't Earth, comes back to attack Japan, and they have Mechagodzilla.
Yeah. So, so the archaeologist people, where they found that prophecy, they also found a statue of the King Caesar thing, and they take it back to the temple, but they're like confronted by like the ape thugs again. I think they're wearing glasses and slick suits.
Well, they have to. They're apes. So.
Yeah. So there's some like rescuing, and there's some other stuff, and the reporter who's following them, who obviously is going to be like some like secret agent or whatever. Who cares? Meanwhile, while they go to this island, Godzilla. This is the first hint where you see how like Godzilla gets recharged. He gets shot by lightning a couple times, and it kind of like repairs him, and like kind of reinvigorates him and stuff. So,
yeah, because he gets his butt kicked for a while. And I guess they've done it in other movies. When he gets hit by lightning, apparently you see his little scales on his back light up, and you know he's getting some juice. It's like an all healing thing for him.
yeah.
And he gets really pissed off too. When he gets pissed off, you just better stay out of his way, because he starts when he makes that heroic comeback, you're toast. So.
Yeah. So like the subplot, you know, the archaeologist and his daughter or something, whether daughter gets kidnapped or the doctor gets kidnapped or somebody gets kidnapped or something. The alien thugs force like the guy to like either help repair the robot or to do something or other. It didn't really matter.
It doesn't. You got to do some sciencey thing to Mechagodzilla.
At any rate, the only thing it really does is it sets up having like this reporter, Interpol secret agent guy, like and family and everybody else involved to set up a rescue party. So that's what they go do. Oh, excuse me. So so they get rescued, right? Or no, what happens is that they get deliberately captured, and then they do some stuff. They do some damage in the home base for the alien, right? Is that what happens?
They come in to come get the scientist. They somewhat knowingly get captured. Two of them kind of get away. The scientist does his thing. He says, "Okay, you got to let me go." And then they said, "Or you got to let my daughter go." And so they throw them all in a cell, and they kind of just start slow cooking them with steam.
Yeah.
In like one of those heat lamps they have in old hotels, like where you get out of the shower and you can turn on that orange light. So they just start kind of slow cooking them in a room. In the meantime, the spy reporter and the other guy come back into the cave, knowing that it won't be guarded very well because they're paying too much attention to something else, which makes sense, I guess. And they go back in and they get him out of the hot steam room and start jacking with stuff from the inside and shoot monkey guys. Meanwhile, some of the whole thing with the statue was they got to have the statue to wake up King Caesar, because King Caesar was supposed to be part of the prophecy to help run off the big monster, which would be Mechagodzilla. And it'd be two monsters fighting, and so it'd be King Caesar, and Godzilla. Now the thing is, the statue points the way to King Caesar, but it doesn't wake him up.
Yeah.
They're going to send this girl out to the beach to sing to him to wake him up.
Yeah, and like the lunar eclipse or something in the mirage in the west or whatever is what you get. So like some lasers with pointing or something from the statue's eyes, and then the lady singing. Yeah, the lady singing woke up the King Caesar.
Here's a little lady singing for you. There's Caesar sleeping, like he does. I wish they would have dubbed the song, because I'm curious what the lyrics are. The lyrics of these songs in these Godzilla movies are fantastic.
I think she's singing Caesar there.
Wake up, Caesar, basically, I'm going to go with. And there's Mechagodzilla walking around like a chump. And does he wake up? Oh no, it's another verse. Never mind.
Oh, he wakes up.
He wakes up. I'll give you the spoiler. He wakes up.
Yeah. So basically, they tumble around. Meanwhile, the people escape. Whatever. They burn the base down. It all is done. Those aliens are dead. Whoop-de-doo. And then the Godzilla and Caesar fight together, but they can't beat up a Mechagodzilla because he has too many weapons and all this other stuff. And finally, like, they kind of threw you in. Godzilla got hit by lightning, so all of a sudden he just kind of like scrunches down like he's constipated. And he's like, all of a sudden I'm a magnet now, and he pulls
I forgot about the magnet. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he pulls Mechagodzilla to him, and Mechagodzilla can't fly away with his rockets. And then all it takes is Godzilla just to rip its head off, and then that was it. Caesar goes back to his little cave on the ocean, and then Godzilla takes back off to Monster Island, and that's it.
And much like all the Godzilla movies, as soon as he hits the ocean and starts heading his way back to Monster Island, movie's over.
The end.
When
there's water in the ocean, it's the end of the movie.
Yeah, and King Caesar crawls back in the hole that blew up when they got him out, and he just goes back to sleep.
Yeah, he literally went back to the hole he crawled out of.
And then he does something like he farts or something, and all the ground caves in on him and buries him again. Perfectly, looks very similar to how the mountain looked before it got blown up.
Yeah.
So he lets a King Caesar fart and buries himself. Godzilla goes Monster Island, the end, everybody's happy.
Yeah, no, this movie's pretty good. I like it.
But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you have giant robots, and it'll play out more like in the 90s movies. We'll see some more of that, but because you'll see the Earth people kind of get clued into that and, like, start making their own, not exactly Mechagodzillas, but, there's stuff like G-Force and things like that, but we'll get into that.
That's coming
later on.
That's another set, but that brings us to
the Terror of Mechagodzilla.
I probably should have gotten a Mechagodzilla Scrooge. Oh well. Anyway, so there you go. We're on the terror. Hey, stop it, Godzilla. Stop it. Bad King of the Monsters.
So, Terror of Mechagodzilla. This came right after this movie, and of course they played on the popularity of the Mechagodzilla. So yeah, it was like it wasn't as good as Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
No, it was not.
It had some of the, how do you say this? It had some of the bad elements of the bad Godzilla movies, but they also mix in the good elements of the good Godzilla movies, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well then the bad Godzilla movies were bad because of the bad elements, not necessarily so, and just like the same for the good elements, make a good like Godzilla movie. That's not also necessarily true. But the thing that stood out, or at least stood out the most in some of the bad Godzilla movies, especially in this place, the dubbing, because the dubbing was terrible in this.
Oh, this one was the I kind of thought maybe halfway through it I was thinking maybe I should have grabbed a copy that had the subtitles on it. I don't know if they would have been any better, but the dubbing was either it was off and paused wrong. Like they'd be halfway through a sentence and stop and then pick up again. And occasionally I think it was just off, but there's at least a couple instances where they're like, I will try to go find that stuff later.
Yeah, I know. It got annoying after a while. So, but it also had like some good elements of like the good movies. Like obviously the fight scenes. Any fight scene with Mechagodzilla is awesome.
Yeah.
And they really improved upon it. Like so that was cool. But
and he had new weapons in this one. He had burrowing like finger missiles.
Mhm. Yeah.
And apparently that really put the hurt on old Zilla proper, because he zaps him with smoke coming out of his mouth, and he just drops over like a sack of crap. And who was the other monster in this one? Titanosaurus, I believe.
Mhm. Yeah, and they had some interesting camera angles where they basically were lying on the ground shooting up in the air to make him look like he's really big.
And he was a smidge taller than Godzilla when they were side by side, and he kind of was a vanilla monster. I don't think he was all that.
Goofy. He bounced around a lot, I noticed. He was kind of
a little bit of jumping. There was one instance where after Godzilla got smoked by Mechagodzilla, literally to a point, he fell in this crevasse, and Titanosaurus, the two of the Mecha and Titanosaurus covered him in dirt, and then Titanosaurus did kind of dance on his grave a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
And this will be the only screen share for this one, but I just want to. I have that spot queued up because I enjoyed it. So here he is. Godzilla's under his feet, by the way. So, oh well. Hang on, we'll just do it. You guys can watch the fast forward with me. And see that little ray there? That is like a sonic ray that disrupts Titanosaurus, who is a living monster. He's not a robot. Whoa! Look how fast they're going. Jeez. That's actually better than regular dubbing. There we go.
Like he's on a trampoline.
He's on a trampoline, and the guy's just cheering him on as he just pounds the crap out of Godzilla. Look at that.
That's it. Keep it up. You can do it. Just get in there. Go on.
He sounds like an elephant.
Yeah, he's good.
Looking on his armbands and yeah. All right. So anyway, I just want to show you that. That's.
Yeah. So obviously, like the gorilla aliens are still around and they're cool, like slick glasses and outfits, and then they switch to goofy ones. But the Interpol agents, guys, they're looking for the wreckage of Mechagodzilla, and they're in this toy submarine, and then that's where Titanosaurus first shows up, right?
He lives under the ocean.
Mm-hmm. And then the biologist from Godzilla vs. Megalon is a biologist they bring in here to help, like, kind of find what the story is around all this stuff, right? So they trace it back to Titanosaurus, who we find out is like controlled by some mad scientist.
Who I think actually played the scientist in the last movie.
Yeah.
Different character, but the same actor. With a white mustache and a white hair wig on.
Yeah. So basically, they meet. Like they go trace it to like his house, and his and the scientist's daughter is there. It's like
He
she
dead.
said, "Father notes were burned on his instruction. I don't know anything," and that was about it. And like it's like okay, yeah, well. So, ooh, dead air.
Dead air.
Oh, okay.
You got up on me for a second. That's all right. It's Peril's alive, live producing.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, they find out that we find out that an aide to the alien leader gets a visit from the doctor, who we find out is still alive, and he's old and crazy. And they're like, okay, I tell you what, let's join forces. You control Titansaurus, and we want Titansaurus, but we can help you like rebuild the world to fulfill your prophecy, because that's how this guy went off the deep end. He was like, this world needs to be stamped out and rebuilt.
And they ran him out of the science world and made a laughing stock of him.
But basically, they said if you figure out a way to help with Mechagodzilla 2, we'll give you Earth, but also bring in Titansaurus. So they form an alliance.
They do, and scientist is old and cranky, and is not going to be persuaded from not wiping out humanity to teach him a lesson. Somehow he can control Titanosaurus, partially because his daughter is sort of a robot. She's more human than robot at the beginning.
Yeah, but he's like doing like experiments and upgrading her pretty much
all the time.
Yeah.
But she's kind of still human. She chats with the good biologist. He's looking at Dr. Mafume. I think his name's Mafume. Dr. Mafume's work, and he's like, well, he had all these theories about essentially controlling a giant dinosaur in the ocean, and his other theories, and like, well, they were good theories, and I wonder if he'd ever make them work, and of course they are in progress. Meanwhile, he's sending Titanosaurus out of the ocean to start attacking the city, and the idea is that Godzilla will show up and fight him, and that is the bad guy's idea. Godzilla will show up, there'll be a big ugly fight between him and Titanosaurus. Godzilla will win, kill Titanosaurus. Godzilla will be really beat up and hurt, and then they can sick Mechagodzilla 2 on him and put him down, and they can take over the Earth.
Yeah, pretty much. But they didn't count on like the Interpol agent guy to fall in love with the robot cyborg lady daughter.
Really fast.
Yeah, really fast. And he actually tells him some secrets and stuff too. And
it's a little two-way street, but he mentions her like twice, and then all of a sudden he's in love with her. So.
Yeah, but while this is going, we also find out that the mechanism to control Mechagodzilla was implanted in this girl's head, so which makes complete sense.
Well, sure, and they said, to make the robot more vicious, it has to have a connection to like a human mind or a living brain.
Yeah, the doctor was all running on about how it was missing the human element, like what Titanosaurus has or something.
Titanosaurus is a living creature, so he has heart and courage and stuff, which is assuming a lot. And then the way to make a robot powerful is to make sure there's a connection to a human brain. And apparently you control it with your eyes, from what the movie does.
Yeah, although I like how they did a cutaway of in some instances where it was just her head and she was communicating with Mechagodzilla, which I know it was like an electric thing that was implanted in it, but it also hinted at ESP and telepathy, which again in the later movies we'll get into that as well. But I like the little just a little bit of what what we will see to come. For that, not like in what it is right now, which is like the
Like, we need Mechagodzilla to go kill Tokyo right now, and then her eyes flash green, and he gets mad and starts cooking, hitting the bricks to get to Tokyo. So.
Yeah. So so they unleash the plan, right? The Mechagodzilla gets fired off. Titanosaurus starts attacking the city, and
Godzilla rolls in. They all start fighting. What is the big key here?
The wave oscillator. So they discovered that the Titanosaurus' weakness, but because the Interpol agent told the secrets to the cyborg lady, they were able to disable. She was able to disable the supersonic thing to not wipe out Titanosaurus earlier, but Godzilla took care of him anyway. He showed up and took care of him because Godzilla is the superhero. He shows up out of the blue to help whenever. So
up on Titanosaurus, and
they fix it and they get it out in time to where they can disable Titanosaurus enough to where Godzilla could work on Mechagodzilla pretty much.
There, and the big twist here is that Godzilla does his usual kind of super comeback. He gets beat up, knocked in the dirt when we showed you Titanosaurus jumping on him, but then after a few minutes he pops back up raring to go.
Mm-hmm.
And he hightails it after Mechagodzilla. Beatdowns ensue, fire breathing, all kinds of stuff. He tears off Mechagodzilla's head, and you think, okay, that's the end.
No.
There is a little hind brain underneath the head. It's like a little dome. It can still shoot lasers and stuff, so it's still pretty troublesome for Godzilla.
Yeah.
And so he grabs him. He basically grabs him by his tail and just throws him head or neck first into the wall, and it smashes his little fancy brain, and then he just cooks him while he's down in the pit.
Now, while that's happening, right? Interpol agents break into the base again in the hideout and shoot to kill. The doctor is killed. The aliens are killed, and then the lady finally realizes that she's I've gone all horribly wrong. So while the Interpol guy that's in love with her holds her, she just offs herself, and that breaks the connection between her and Mechagodzilla, and that helped Godzilla kind of take out Mechagodzilla. So
she had a human assist in this one, so
yes, by human assist by Seppuku. Seppuku.
But so Mechagodzilla loses human brain leg thing, and that allows Godzilla to finish him off. And meanwhile, the bad guys had rigged their base to blow up as soon as the Interpol people got in there. They released their human slaves. They all get out in time. The evil hideout blows up, but alien guy, leader, Sinister Man, runs out through the woods and jumps off a cliff into the ocean, and then little saucers pop up out of the ocean.
Yeah, but not so fast. Godzilla sees him and offs them too. He just
while Godzilla is he's still whooping. He's actually beating up on Titanosaurus at this point. He's kind of choking him in the chokehold. He looks up and sees the flying saucers, and while he's choking Titanosaurus, he coughs out a few fire breaths and takes out all the flying saucers.
Yeah. So, and then the very last part of the movie, what happens to him?
Godzilla walks off into the ocean.
Yeah, that's right.
The end.
The end. Things I liked about this one, the hint of telepathy, the hint of ESP, especially when I watched a lot of the 90s movies, especially later on, in high school and college. There was a little bit of that at play as well. And I like the connection here, albeit it's not a direct one, but I like that a lot. What else? The fights with Mechagodzilla are always entertaining, so I love that. And that's about it. Everything else is just kind of blah. The whole first scene with the submarine stuff took too long to develop. and it really it needed to. They needed to come up with another way to move it along a lot faster than what happened. But they did do their James Bondy kind of like espionage kind of stuff in the middle, which is all right. But the ham-fisted love story is kind of weak. The mad scientist. I don't think we've seen a movie here with the mad scientist yet, Tim.
This was the closest, and maybe
it's the first one, really.
Was it the first one where the guy? Yeah, that where he had the acid dissolver thing that he threw in the ocean and it ate up the first Godzilla. Because this is obviously another Godzilla.
So he was kind of mad, but he ended up being the good guy in the end, which is different than this one. But I like how the Shala series. I liked how it like bookended it with like mad scientistry, and stuff like that.
It had been a while since we had a true mad scientist. We had aliens, a lot of aliens really. But.
Yeah. Oh, and then the stupid Seatopia guys.
And the Seatopia guys in their silver sash and crown. And they didn't end up being really bad. They were just ticked off that they were blowing up bombs under the ground. So
they had legit beef.
They had beef. And then once they kind of settled the score a little bit and everybody got beat up, they're like, okay, fine, we'll go back and quit blowing up shit. So they really weren't that bad, come to think of it. And then they had the bullies and the bank robbers and Son of Godzilla. Oh, God.
Oh, that was brutal.
Oh.
Yeah, that's it. What do you think? How would you rank these?
I think I have to go with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla as one. It's a toss-up on the next two. I really liked. It was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, then it was Megalon. Oh boy. I think I'd have to go Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Terror of Mechagodzilla, and then Megalon.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Megalon. Even though it was goofy, it had more action than Terror of Mechagodzilla because it took forever to get started. Even though like the fight scenes with Mechagodzilla were pretty cool. Megalon just because there were more fights.
That's true. Megalon was a pretty good monster, but.
And it was a Mystery Science Theater 2000 episodes. It gets the edge for me too.
Yeah. It's a real close. You're talking about 2A and 2B. So.
Yeah.
One with a bullet was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla by far.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be top 3 at least for me for the whole series. Maybe top 5. I don't know. We'll have to watch the rest of them, I guess.
We'll find out when we get to 28 or 29 or God knows where.
Yeah. Speaking of which, that's what's coming up next. Tim and I have some catch-up to do, but what we got coming up is Godzilla 1985, or The Return of Godzilla. Yes, this last one stopped in 1975. We kind of hinted at some of the reasons why. It just wasn't raking in as much cash. You could tell they were running out of ideas. But also they're just reusing footage, and it just they weren't really putting out a quality product. If you got to come out with a movie every year, you're gonna run dry really quick. You're gonna have Godzilla burnout.
And so there's a little layoff here, but then they jump back in the 80s. And am I correct in thinking these are all kind of sequels to the original Godzilla in the 80s?
We'll get into that. The Return of Godzilla, I think, and man, it has been a very long time since I've seen that.
I believe that is considered, like, if you watch Godzilla from 54.
This is where they start retconning a lot of stuff.
So this will be a sequel to Godzilla, the first Godzilla from 54. So I think when we get to the 80s, it's kind of restarting the sequel a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a reboot in the sense that the first movie happened, and then that's it. So that's where Godzilla 1985 comes out. It came out in 1994, and then we get another 5-year break. Then we get Godzilla vs. Biollante, where on this very Earth Day, we also find out what Godzilla does to plants. And then Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Yes, with a reboot comes rebooted and reimagined monsters. So you're going to see a classic lineup after Biollante roll through, and then we'll get some new monsters, and then...
But you get your favorites. You get King Ghidorah, you get Mothra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/GonzoGuys.
Gonzo Guys on Twitter. I gave away 2 prize packs in the last week, so there's stuff there. I just won some prizes out of a bear claw machine today.
Oh.
Which include...
you wear your Godzilla mask when you're doing that?
No, I should have been. It would have looked more suspicious. But I got some oversized dice. I have paratrooper men. I somehow got a bottle of roll-on body glitter. I don't know.
I can't even begin to try to comprehend what combination.
I don't know. It was in the machine. I thought it was something cool. There's body glitter. I have a miniature plastic Michigan Wolverines helmet for some reason. An orange dinosaur and a clapper and 2 hacky sacks and a sponge ball.
Wow.
Those could all be in a prize pack. Not all of them at once, because I've spread the love. But
and maybe that John F. Kennedy variant action figure thingy.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now that you say that, I could take that little figurine and make that variant.
No, that wouldn't be creepy or anything.
I'll pencil that. I'll just put that on the schedule for later. But anyway, follow us, watch for our questions. We all try to put up funny things. There's a lovely Easter clip I thought was thematically fun.
Yeah, follow us on the Twitters at Gonzo Guys, right?
What's that?
We said Twitter, right? At Gonzo Guys?
At Gonzo Guys. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. It's a lot of fun.
And we'll have an Abydos here coming soon. Don't know when yet, but it is Abby, by the way. We'll probably put something about where you can watch along as well.
There'll be some stuff for the next dose. In the meantime, go back and listen to the catalog. We have many Epidoses back there that are a lot of fun. So go back to Season 1, relive the memories.
All right, cool. And with that, I think we're out. Right, Tim?
We're doing.
All right, well,
Cue the music.
Y'all have a good one.
Roar.
Yo,